Hello and welcome. My name is Alicia Albada, and I am the UX UI designer for the mobile app Flourish. Today I'll be giving a brief overview of my process in designing the app. Before we dive in, I'll give a summary of what Flourish does. It's an app that users can easily log and track their fitness, diet, and wellness data. We then use that data to provide customized feedback and recommendations to help them stay engaged, see progress, and to support them in improving their overall health. My goal throughout the design thinking process was to reconcile people's desires with technical feasibility and business viability. Referencing this diagram here, the design thinking process, I was able to bring this product from conceptualization to implementation to ensure I produced a well-designed, user-centered product. My first step in this process was completing a competitive analysis. This step is crucial as it allowed me to better understand the problem space and get a feel for the kind of issues your users are currently experiencing and what existing solutions have already been proposed to the market. An assessment of strengths and weaknesses of competitors was a really eye-opening experience for me, as I found most existing apps to be highly focused on one aspect of health, such as medical information, which Follow My Health does, and diet psychology, which Noom does, rather than really looking at the user as a whole, which is what I really wanted to focus on. Next, I conducted user surveys. This allowed me to gather qualitative information directly from users who might engage with health and wellness apps. User surveys allowed me to reach a larger sample size with 36 total participants. This helped me to gather more qualitative data in a cost-effective way. User surveys were also conducted with 4 participants, so I could collect more of an emotional and behavioral feedback by asking follow-up questions and also seeing their body language. Some insights that I found were that many current apps don't cater to those who need specialized recommendations, but also that users felt frustrated and found most apps difficult to use, and there's often too much information and they had cluttered home screens. They also didn't want to put in too much extra work or daily manual data input. Next, I moved on to user research analysis. This was a process of grouping together similar thoughts from users to identify similarities within needs and goals, lifestyle, concerns and friction points, as well as usability and current competitors. Next, I moved on to user stories. Then, using the feedback I received from the user surveys and interviews, I was able to identify user goals and friction points to create user personas. This helped me to not only identify user needs, goals, behaviors, and also limitations, but I was able to summarize them into relatable personas in which I can empathize. By then creating user flows, I could outline the journey a user might take through a system when completing specific tasks. While working independently, this was really helpful for me to depict high levels of empathy to truly understand what user needs without allowing any personal biases to interfere with this process. I'm going to quickly scroll through these 3 examples I have listed here. With user flows in mind, I was able to create a sitemap for the app to begin conceptualizing the hierarchy I would design. My next step was to use card sorting tests to see how users interpreted categories in the existing organization. This helped me to see that regrouping and reorganization was necessary, as there were significant inconsistencies with grouping among my testers. This helped me to see that my initial design was not intuitive and that I needed to take a step back and rethink my page titles and hierarchy. Then, using those findings, I revised my sitemap to categorize features in a more intuitive way. For example, I originally had the diary log under both my food and my fitness, which I found confused users. I ended up creating a separate user diary, which I later renamed daily log, in which users could input both fitness and food data from there. Once I had completed these steps and I was happy with my sitemap, I was ready to start creating low-fidelity wireframes to bring the design to life. By using quick sketches It was easy to create and try multiple different designs without worrying about creating any time-consuming digital sketches. I find sketching to be very quick and efficient, as well as cost-effective. This allowed me to create sketches for nearly every page of my app, which provided a lot of clarity for me during the design process. Once I had created digital low-fidelity prototypes, I began usability testing. I set goals, test objectives, and began selecting participants for my 10 to 15-minute tests. Using these results, I used card sorting in an affinity map to group together observations, positive quotes, negative quotes, as well as errors that the users identified. I then took this data and entered it into the Rainbow spreadsheet. This was actually originally created by UX designer Tomer Sharon to be able to analyze the results and identify any errors. I conducted a second usability test in which the participants were Career Foundry students. I had my revised prototypes tested and critiqued, which helped to identify further errors and issues that were not previously noticed. Here I show each revision to my main features. The daily progress home screen went through 6 revisions to ensure it was intuitive, easy to use, convenient, and quick for users. My onboarding slides needed 4 revisions in order to make it accessible to all users, easy to navigate, and to also be an enticing start to the user's first experience with the app. The account setup is also a very important feature that required 3 revisions. My final version reduces the cognitive overload by breaking it down into multiple steps. And finally, the daily log, which had 3 revisions, as this would be a highly trafficked page that needed to be visually appealing, easy to use, but also enticing for the users to return. Finally, I began working on my visual design documentation, in which I selected the color palette, UI elements, typography, as well as the accessibility for the app. The accessibility was a top priority for Flourish, using a simple, clear layout, easy to read text, and high contrast to improve the user experience overall. I really wanted to focus on having all the users feel included and also confident while using the app. It was important to keep in mind disabilities such as vision, hearing, mobility, and literacy while designing all the features. After all of my progress with this project, my hypothesis is that health-conscious users will use a health and wellness app frequently if they're able to track their health and wellness in an easy-to-use, intuitive mobile app that they can trust. Users must feel confident that they are receiving reliable information that is good for them specifically so they can see results. I can validate the hypothesis by tracking analytics of user data and engaging users through email and surveys. And that concludes my overview. Thank you so much for your time. Please feel free to reach out to me at alicia.albada@gmail.com if you have any questions. Thank you so much.